Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. I brought a special person right here, Austin.
Bardaji Fit, Austin Bardaji. Nice to see you guys.
Alright guys, so today we're gonna show you guys how to calculate a nice diet for bulking as well as macros, calories and macros. So 3 things you guys are gonna need to know is weight, height, and body fat. So here we're using Austin's formula, his info right over here. His weight is at 218 as of today. Early in the morning, nothing in the stomach. His height is at 6'2", so we're gonna need to know this and convert it into inches. So 74 inches, and his body fat is at 13%. So we're gonna use our basal metabolic rate formula, which is 66 plus 6.23 times his weight plus 12.7 times his height in inches minus 6.8 times his age. And what that gave us was 2,214.34 calories, which is his BMR at rest. So that means if he was just laying down in bed all day, that's how much calories he's gonna need just to do basic stuff. So now we're gonna calculate his BMR in motion, which depends on how active you are throughout the day. And how we're gonna find that out is through our Harris-Benedict formula. So here, depending on what type of person you are, if you're a sedentary lifestyle, that means little to no exercise, you're gonna multiply your calories, your BMR at rest, times 1.2. If you're a little bit more lightly active, 1 to 3 days of training, you're gonna multiply your BMR times 1.37. A little bit more active, 3 to 5 days. This is probably my range, but you're gonna multiply that by BMR times 1.5. Very active, 6 to 7 days a week, everyday training, BMR times 1.725. And extra active, which means is you're training twice a day, you have maybe like a mailman job, a serving job, which is very active throughout the whole day, you're gonna multiply your BMR times 1.9. So we found out that his active lifestyle is around 1.6 between these 2 days, because he goes sometimes 6 days of training a week or sometimes even 5 days. So we're gonna multiply his BMR times 1.6, and that's what we get as 3,543 calories in motion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna average out these two to get the BMR on average. So we added up those two numbers and we divided by 2, which we got 2,878.67. Now what we're gonna do with this number is we're gonna add anywhere from 250 to 500 calories, depending on how drastic you want your calorie surplus to be, and depending on how much muscle you want to add. If you want to add 1 pound per week, 250 is ideal. If you're trying to take it a little bit more drastic, anywhere from like 300 to 500 calories. So we're going to go full on force with this bulking diet, and we're going to add 500 calories to what his average was. So 2,878.67 plus 3,378. So that's going to be his calories for his bulking. So now if he doesn't want to do too much of a bulking, he'll just add 250, which is 3,128. So anywhere between these two numbers, any range, you'll be adding basically mass on. So now we're going to calculate his lean weight, which is his body fat, 0.13, times his current weight, which is 218. And this number means that this is going to be his lean weight, basically with no fat on. He'll be at 190, which is crazy. No fat, and man, he'll be thin paper. Paper thin.
Yeah, right? That shit would be crazy.
Yeah. So now I'm going to pass it on over here to further explain macros for bulking, how to calculate, with my boy Austin right here.
Just want to thank my man Alec, right, for just giving us that nice solid little presentation on just how to calculate the calories. Now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty stuff of the annoying part of the macros, where you got to count your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. Now obviously you do have a question. There's macronutrients, there are micronutrients, and that's going to be all your vitamins and your minerals that you're going to get in throughout the day. And those are a lot of things that people really don't calculate, but are some things that you should watch. But right now we're really going to get into, like I said, your proteins, fats, and your carbs. All right, naturally, what I learned through school, since I am an exercise science major and will be going into dietitian, that your typical split when it does come to your carbs, fats, and proteins are going to be, for your carbs, are going to be your highest. A lot of people really confuse proteins for like, oh my God, I need proteins to put on size. I got to take huge amounts. It's It's really not how it is. Carbs are really going to be your main source of energy when it does come to energy when going to the gym. So that's going to be your biggest split. That's going to be around 45 to 65%. So then after that, you're going to have fats, which are going to be your 10% to 35%. So if you're looking towards healthy fats, you're going to be going towards some fish or like some nuts, your tree nuts, and some avocado, which personally is a favorite of mine. And then you're going to go to your proteins. Personally, myself, I really don't change like drastically in my protein measurements, so I try and keep it the same throughout my diet, but this is also going to range from 10 to 35% as well. So now, what he was saying before, when you're talking about the lean weight, where you did the 218 pounds, which is my full body weight right now, times 0.13, I am going to be at 190 lean mass. Okay, so that is just me with no fat, paper thin, nothing. So now what we're going to do here, just to calculate the first part of my protein, all right, we're going to get my lean body mass, okay, and we're going to times it by 1 gram. Now this is for the most minimal, okay, and this is for the least amount of mass gain. So I'm going to get 190 grams, and then for the most mass amount, for the biggest gain, I'm going to multiply it by 1.5. Personally, myself, like I said, I don't like to keep my protein intake too high. So I just kind of kept it in the middle. I probably went around like 1.2, 1.3, which brought me to about 228 grams. And then for your protein intake, it's calories per gram. So per gram of protein that you do consume, it's going to be 4 calories. So what you're going to do, you're going to get those grams for those proteins, you're going to multiply them by 4. And that's going to get you 912 calories. So if you do the math, that 912 calories is going to go into that 378.6 that he had over here. So that's going to be about 30%. Okay? Next thing we're going to get into your fats. All right, so it's going to be, like I said, same thing with the protein. It's going to be same calculation. So for the most minimal amount of fat gain, you're going to multiply your lean mass times 0.35, and for the maximum amount, you're going to multiply it by 0.5. So for the most minimal amount, you're going to get 67 grams, and then for the max amount, you're going to get 95, and you really don't want to exceed that. So personally, myself, like I said again, I'm focusing more on a high carb diet right now, since I'm trying to put on a little bit more mass and I'm trying to put on a little bit more size, like I just said. So I'm just going to stick around 85 grams. So that's going to be around 40, like 0.4, 0.45. So then for fat, it's going to be more than protein or carbs. So that's going to be 9 calories per gram. So you're going to multiply that 85 times 9, and that's going to get you your 765, okay? And that's going to be about 20% right here. All right, and then the last thing we're going to get into is going to be your carbs. A very, very big problem in today's society. A lot of people get carbs confused with being very bad for you, and that you really shouldn't have them in your diet, and it's really something you shouldn't incorporate in. Personally, myself, I think that's all BS. Okay, carbs are actually going to be one of your main sources of energy, and it's going to help you get that ultimate lift when you do go to the gym. And it's really good to incorporate them in your diet. Or else, if you have very little minimum carbs, especially, you could risk having a very flat workout. So, personally, myself, we actually didn't do the math on this one. We actually added what we got from fat and protein, which is going to get us to, about 1677 for our total calorie intake. All right, so then what we did with that, we got the 1677 and we subtracted it into the total amount that we got for my total calorie intake for right now. So then what that's going to come out to, about 1701 calories. And like I said, for proteins as well, it's going to be about 4 calories per gram, and you're going to divide that by 4 instead of multiplying it, since it's a smaller amount. And that's going to get you about 425 grams of carbs, and that's going to be about your 50%. All right, and the last thing I really just wanted to touch on is today with the macros for bulking is that you got to really watch what you eat. Okay, just because the bottle or that package says calories doesn't mean it's just going to add on to your diet. Okay, the most important part of attaining to this diet is maintaining like the nutrients when you get into it. All right, you want to have a lot of nutrient dense foods. So for example, right now I'm drinking water. All right, no calories, nothing, free form. All right, I can drink as much of it as I want. I'm really not going to gain any weight. I'll probably end up sweating it back out. So for example, Gatorade. Okay, I was just looking at a bottle the other day. Had about 40 grams of carbs in it, probably about 300 calories. You think about that. It's it's really not nutrient dense. Didn't really have any proteins, really didn't have any fats at all, and it's just filling up my calorie count. And then you think about it, when you are counting your macros for bulking, you got to make sure that you're eating nutrient dense foods, because say I eat foods that are too high in carbs. Now I got to find out a way to get my fats and proteins in throughout the day without eating a single carb. And it's the same thing for either one. If I finish my protein intake, I got to figure out a way to get my carbs and fats in. If I finish my fat intake, I got to figure out a way to get my proteins and carbs in. It really depends, because any excess gain that you get or any excess food that you do have will turn into fat, and it won't turn in, and it's going to turn into a bigger struggle for you in the end when you do want to eventually lean out and cut at the end of the day. But as an overview, that's the total for my part, and thank you.
All right, so just to mention one more thing, guys, is that these macros are not for everyone. Some people work better with higher fats and a little bit moderate carbs. And like I said, it all depends on your body type. It really takes years of experience to really know your body. It doesn't take 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks just trying out diets. But it takes a long time, and you gotta keep track of every single thing that you go through. So like I said, for me right now, what's working a little bit better is a little bit higher fats and a little bit moderate carbs. So I'll do like around 120 grams of fat and maybe carbs, drop it down to like 250, and keeping the same thing, protein, at the same level as maybe like 1 gram or 1.5 or 1.3. Anywhere between that range would be great. But yeah, I really hope this video was very informative to you guys. I really want to thank Austin for joining us today, man. Thank you so much. I hope you guys stay tuned, and peace out. I'll link his YouTube or Instagram channel, whatever he has, on the description below, and check him out. Great things coming, guys.
Bardaji Fit, check my transformation. Go right ahead. All right. Pleasure talking to you guys. We'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you, guys. Peace out.